The Pattaya 105 Property Show, sponsored by Compass Real Estate.
Welcome back to 105, and in the studio we have Lawrence and Wim. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thank you, Dave.
Been good so far. It's pretty painless, as they say on this show, but nobody believes me. Lawrence, I think you've got a couple of things to say.
Oh, I've always got a couple of things to say, Dave.
Well, I was just being nice.
No, I mean we were just talking in the break there about the big differences really when you are dealing with high end projects such as Winds, or the sort of more low end sector like we're dealing with Atlantis, where I'm sole agent for.
I wouldn't class it as the low end section. I would call it the everyday section.
Yeah, well,
that's what I would say, because they are sort of that end, that are the everyday sort of thing, aren't they?
I mean, we're just playing with words here, but no, I mean, there's a big difference between people looking at a 1 to 3 million baht condo, and people looking at a 25 to 75 million baht condo. And I mean, but let's be true. People who are buying these 1 to 3 million baht condos also may be buying something in the other price bracket, because a lot of people buying for investment in these smaller projects as well. And always when you're buying off plan, you can see great returns, so it's always going to be a great investment for those people who have got the capital there as well.
And of course, I mean, like you've just said, I mean, somebody could be spending the 25 million bracket for themselves to live in or whatever, or they at the same time could be getting some of the lower end market, as you call it, and buying those for rentals or whatever, couldn't they? Surely.
Yeah, for rentals and investments. I think if you are looking at the high end market as an investment, it's a lot more difficult.
Would somebody buy one of yours, Wim, to rent out?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we have people that have bought just for investment purposes. But just coming back to the lower end, there's no doubt about it that the lower end is you can make very good money out of. I've got quite a few condos at the lower end, and I've done very nice out of them. Thank you very much over the time. In fact. In Bangkok, I've got a few, and I'm getting like a 45% return, right? And so it's a different market, and you got many more people in that market than into our market. Our market, the market is very small, compared to the lower end is perhaps not the right word to use, but the everyday type condominium.
Yeah, I think it's like we're dealing with the mass market. I think you made a good comparison, Dave, when you sort of compared, perhaps the low end sector, someone buying a Mini or some sort of car like that, whereas the high end market is a Rolls Royce. Obviously, there's a place in the market for both of those.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a big difference there, and a big difference in clientele, a big difference in the way.
Well, you're the sort of lower end market, of course, is a bigger catchment audience, if that's what you want to say, and the higher end are an audience in themselves. I mean, that's what they expect. If they're paying that money, they expect that. So it's a different ball game there.
Yeah, definitely. But I think for our listeners, there's definitely comparisons we can draw to help them, to give them advice. I mean, we've been talking a lot these last few weeks, and I know a lot of the questions that you've given me that are coming in on the email are talking about what sort of things should you be looking for when you're buying these condominiums, what sort of things should you be checking, and it kind of talks on what we were talking about on the break there, where we were talking about it is important that your agent checks all these documents, checks the notes for the land, etc., checks the sales agreements. I know myself, I've been dealing with a lot of contracts these last few weeks. I mean, Wim, what sort of issues do you have? I mean, do people really look to customise their contracts when they're coming to you? Do you use a set contract?
No, we use an English contract. Even for Thai people, we use English contract.
Yeah.
Except for those that absolutely insist on a Thai contract. But most of the Thai people that we deal with at the high end, the English is just as easy for them as what it is Thai. There isn't really that much customization, but what the real issue is, of course, is people want to know, is the project safe? Okay, and unfortunately, the way things are in Thailand, it's not always that way. You do have to do your homework a little bit. You should your developers should be able to provide you with notes that are properly done, and you should see the land, who owns the land, and all those things. And because a lot of the projects nowadays, nobody owns the land yet. It's owned by somebody, and it's all based on how it's going to go. But I think you should ask a developer, please show me who owns the land and the what's on the back of the Shenote. Is it with the bank, or who is it with, or whatever the case may be. These things should be automatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever sort of property you're looking at, and, for our listeners out there, if you are looking at a property, whether it be a 25 to 75 million baht property, or whether it be a 1 to 3 million baht property, you still need to go through the same process.
Absolutely.
You still need to be checked, like we were talking about, checking the Shenotes, which is the title deeds. You still need to be reviewing the sales contract. You still need to be making all the regulations are in place. You need to do your homework, and as we've talked about several times on the show, sometimes you will need to engage with a lawyer to check these things for you. It's not always essential, and a lot of people, perhaps the majority of people, don't usually engage a lawyer when they're checking these things.
But common sense would sort of say, go to a lawyer and just check it out. Surely.
I mean, back in the UK, you'd always engage a lawyer to check these things. So it's something that's definitely worthwhile here as well.
I think that one of the big issues you have, and like Atlantis that you mentioned before, which is a very lovely looking project, and from what I can gather, the sales are going beyond expectation.
Yeah.
Which is all good for a development like that. The problem, of course, that you have in this environment of construction, and it's something that we've found out the hard way, is that the end of the day is to get your occupancy certificate, and how have you built it to the regulation that's supposed to be in place. Zeds, I can honestly say we don't have any of these issues, and we're not going to start pointing fingers or anything like that, because there's no point in that. But people do have to make sure that that if they're using an agent, or they're buying direct from the developer, that this material is available. And of course, in our case now, we are so relieved that we have an occupancy certificate, because this is the hardest thing to get. Believe me, it's not easy. If anyone says it's easy to get, it's not right. They have a procession of people going through your property, measuring and doing this and doing that. If they do something right, they do that right. All right? And I can tell you whether you're out by 1 centimetre, or whether the door is too narrow, or whether the fire hydrant isn't in the right spot, or whether the emergency light isn't in the right spot. They are pretty pedantic about this. And it's good.
Yeah.
Because it's good for the consumer. And so all I can say is that I think that the level of professionalism in the industry is rising because of the competition. They have to, and that can only be good for all concerned, because currently there are so many condominiums either under construction or on the drawing board, that sometimes you wonder how all this can happen so quick.
Yeah.
And there's only so many people that can construct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you're right. There are so many condominiums out there being built, and sort of being finished in the next few years off the plan. It does kind of make you wonder, where are all these units going to go? But I mean, as we were talking about earlier in the show, the growth in the market is just seems to always be there. We seem to keep having more and more people looking to come to Pattaya. The city is growing.
Things have happened so fast here that it is a bit of a catching up a game as well, and also it's a learning curve for a lot of people here as well. But I do think that like Wim said, they are beginning to see the light.
The Pattaya 105 Property Show, sponsored by Compass Real Estate.
Well, taking us to 25 minutes to the hour of 6 o'clock, and of course it's been a long day, it's been a good day, and two guys in the studio, brilliant. We have Lawrence and Wim back in the studio with us. Been a good one, guys?
Yep, always a good one.
Enjoyed it so far, Wim?
Very much, thank you.
Good. Now, down at Atlantis, of course, the project down there, Johnny, how is it going with, like, let's say, with City Hall? I mean, how are they working together with you? Is there anything happening there?
Yeah, I mean, like Wim was saying, we've found it really easy to work with the City Hall, and they're actually making a lot of improvements which will be beneficial to the whole area and to the project. I mean, down on the second road, which is quite an undeveloped area at the moment, you know, they're making a lot of improvements to the road at the moment, you know, redoing all the pavements down there, all the electric cables are going underground down there, and there's going to be proper street lighting put down there, so it's safe to walk at night.
Step in the right direction then.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure.
Now going from the John Gem streets, so to speak, but going down to the ocean's edge water. I mean, what's happening down at the bay section down there?
Well, all I can say is that, you know, City Hall has a lot of things to do because this city is moving very fast and rapid. But at the end of the day, we've achieved quite a lot with them. They've put cables underground for us, so we have better vision, better view for the customer. They currently, next week I think, they're starting to beautify the front area and clean up the beach. We've been suffering from pollution, and unfortunately, like so many parts of Pattaya, and we've sort of sorted out the culprit in conjunction with City Hall. They are going to beautify right in front of Ocean's Edge. It will become a beautiful promenade and lots of flowers, and they're building a new wall because we do suffer from erosion there. The water gets quite high now, you know, they've called in the experts on working out how to do this and how to do that.
And I must say, I mean, City Hall do a good job. I mean, they've got a lot of things to cope with, taking steps in the right direction, and like you say, you know, doing the roads and now doing the bay and putting cables underground, which, you know, has got to be a really good step.